things we need to do. I want to make sure that everybody knows how to pronounce the. Thank you all for being here. My name is Ann Frisch, supporting the Rotary District 5960 Peace Fellowship team. We are gathered here today to consider the application of Niriwa Golver for Rotary Peace Fellowship. We are so happy you're here, Niriwa.
Thank you.
He comes to us in 5960 because his district 9212 was not able to consider his endorsement due to apparently so many applications that they've had. So just to let you know, I met Niriwa in 2011 when he was working for Nonviolent Peace Force. I was present for the training where he and his colleagues were getting together with people from 3 communities, including 3 chiefs. And these were the parties that had been killing each other in the previous year. So it was a great success to have these parties, and Niriwa was one of the parties that helped them resolve this conflict. So in this group today, we have the Committee of Record, and they are the people who are formally here to talk with you, Niriwa, and hear about your work. They're responsible for writing the final report on our meeting today. Also in our group today, we have observer witnesses, and we're so glad you're all here. You have not read the application, but you're welcome to ask questions. And if we'll just, because there are some questions that let the Committee of Record go first on questions. Raise your hand electronically or otherwise, or you can just we'll try to get questions from anyone who wants to do that. We'll try to close within the hour so the committee can meet briefly and drop some comments. And I will write up those comments and send them back for review. And then I will send the final endorsement to all of you. If you want a copy and you're not on the Committee of Record, just leave your email address in the chat room or sign in. I will also send it to Niriwa. So, for your information also, Niriwa and the Committee of Record has a common list of questions, but they are all focusing on his work, his dreams, his focus, his expertise, what he has accomplished. So just to know that we're all dealing with Niriwa's close and comfortable knowledge. So let me begin. We're first going to do introductions. I am Ann Frisch. I've been in the district since 2012. I am the Rotary Peace Fellowship team lead, and I have mentored 30 to 40 applicants, some of whom actually became Rotary Peace Fellows. So what we're going to do is we're going to go quickly around the room with a 30-second introduction. So I will go first to Niriwa, and you just tell us briefly in 30 seconds about you, and then we will go on to the Committee of Record, and then we will go on to our observer witnesses. Let's go to Niriwa.
Okay, thank you very much.
Brief introduction.
Okay, my full name is Niriwa Golver Alson. I was born in 1979, and I'm a South Sudanese.
Very good. Patty?
And yeah, I love peace and I work for peace.
Okay, thank you. And Patty? Unmute yourselves, everybody.
My name is Patty Hall, and I'm from White Bear Lake Rotary Club, and I also founded an organization called H2O for Life that works on water sanitation and hygiene education, and we partner with Water for South Sudan. So we've done many projects in South Sudan. So I'm very interested to learn more about what you do. So thanks for inviting me.
And Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Marzon. I'm a dual member. I'm a Lakeville Rotarian and the president of a Rotaract club in the South Metro in Minnesota.
And Fred.
Yes, good morning. I'm a retired electrical engineer. I've been with Rotary over 30 years at the White Bear Lake Rotary Club. Much of my Rotary experience has been in the international service area, education, and youth exchange. So thanks for being here today. I want to learn more about peace and conflict resolution. So I need you to train me.
Very good. You got the right person. Kyle, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kyle Haugen from the Prior Lake Rotary Club. I'm a past district governor and our district Rotary Foundation team leader.
Okay, and Kenny?
Yes, Kenny Closter. I'm a member of the Greater Mankato Rotary Club, and I am district governor nominee. Thank you.
Amada?
Hi, my name is Amada Marcus Simula, and I am a member of the Columbia Heights Fridley Rotary. I joined about 3 years ago.
Very good. And Teddy, we can't see you, but we know you're there. Can you unmute yourself, Teddy? Okay, let's come back to you, Teddy. Ashok?
Yes, hello. I'm Ashok Patel. I was born in Uganda, Niriwa, and I have been a Rotarian since 2005. I work at Mayo Clinic as a lung doctor, and Anne is one of my mentors in avoiding nuclear catastrophe.
Very good. And Ed?
Ed Merrick, District Governor-elect. I've been a member of Rotary for about 25 years, and I'm a part of the St. Paul Sunrise Club. Good to see you.
Thank you, thank you.
And Teddy, are you there? Did we miss anybody?
Kathy hasn't said anything yet.
Okay.
Hi, Kathy Hewitt. I'm a Lakeville Rotarian and I'm the district office administrator.
And Kathy is our wizard and setting things up and making good things happen. So thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, if we have some new people, we'll just bring them right into the conversation. So here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to talk about the eligibility requirements for Rotary Peace Fellowship. And I will show how Niriwa meets those expectations. And what we need to do now is to determine if his experience and background and goals fit as a candidate for Rotary Peace Fellowships. The decision is actually made by the universities, by the Rotary Peace Center staff, and some Rotarians who've been selected for this. So, and then at the end, we'll come back with the committee of record. So let me lead off. Kathy, you can share your screen with us, and I'm going to ask Niriwa if, as you're a Moro community member, you were born in a war, and would you give us a tour of your country and your life and tell us where you've been and how you happen to be so committed and active for peace?
Okay, can the map be zoomed a little bit? Yes, a little bit.
A little more, okay.
Is that all more? A little bit more, yeah? Okay, and then a little bit up. Okay. Yes, yes. So, thank you very much. As I said, my name is Nyiro Golva. I'm a South Sudanese. I am born just near here. There is a place down here. It's called. There is a place down here called, I think, Jambo, in Mundri East. That's when I was born. My county is here called Mundri East. This is when I was born. And I was born in 1979. Some of you who follow the Sudanese history very well, you will realize that in 1972, Sudan had gotten a peace agreement which was signed between Khartoum and Southern Sudan. So I was born around towards the end of that peace agreement in 1979. And then about 3 or 4 years later, the fighting, which started in 1983, the one led by late Dr. John Garang, started. So I was just near here. In Mundri East, Mundri East is the county up here. You see, if you look at the left hand of the screen, you will find a county here called Mundri East. And then there is a small village down here. When you take the road, it's called Louis. That's where I was born. That's near here. Yeah, there is Louis here. Yes, exactly. This is where I was born. And Louis and Juba were just like 160 kilometers apart. So when I was born, I think the fighting started immediately in 1983, and the fighting is spread to our village, which was here in Louis, the fighting, of course, was very heavy, and we got displaced many, many times throughout our lives. I lived my life as a displaced person, both internally. From Louis, we ran to other villages up here. And what happened is that during that time, we saw a lot of things that normally happen in the world that people, maybe in the West, like you can read in the newspaper. I saw women being killed, women being raped. I saw children being killed. I saw recruitment of children in the army. And in our school, children who are a little bit tall, at the age of 7, 8, could be recruited into the army. So we witnessed all this. And then our villages were destroyed several times. We got displaced every time because the army, the Sudan government forces were just near in Juba, and there is a village near here called the Rokon. I cannot see it now. Rokon is, I think, towards Juba. Yeah. So that Rokon is a strong area for the Sudan Armed Forces. And during that time, our villages were being attacked every time. Women were being killed, men were being killed, children were being killed. So I lived all the through. And in 1996, in one of the attacks on our village, people who, I had one of the persons online here lived in Uganda, was born in Uganda, probably lived in Uganda between 1994 and 1996. Sudan Armed Forces had a very serious offensive towards the Western Equatoria, and they captured Louis, my village, in 1996, in about June, around this time. That was the time when I sustained the bullet wound, and even, by the way, I'm also disabled because of the bullet wound in 1990. And then in 1997, the attack went. My parents were all taken away from Louis. They were taken to Juba. So for us, we got displaced. We got displaced. We went to southwards, across the River Yei, up here. Yeah, across the River Yei. So from 1997 to 2007, I lived alone. I did not see my mother. I did not see my father. I did not see anybody. So, but the Sudanese people are good people. They were able, people who even never knew me were able. So during that time, because the Sudan Armed Forces were using both ground and air forces, they were using Antonov, which is made in Russia, then MiG-29, then there is also this helicopter. So it was very, very, very serious. from here, from around Mundu West here, where we were displaced in 1996, and my parents were taken down this side of to Juba. We were here, so we started to move through the Lanya County, because in 1997, SPLA had captured Juba, not Juba, Yei. We crossed from Yei, we crossed to Kaya, and for the colleague who was born in Arua, in Uganda, for example, I was in 2000. I reached the border of Uganda and I got registered in a camp called Invepi in Arua district, and that's where I stayed there up to 2007. And then, of course, you have to struggle on your own. The parents already taken away, and I was not able to get the UNSR scholarship. So I have to struggle on my own to get the little education that I am able to use today. So from that time, I know what war actually means. War actually means, because I also sustained a bullet wound in one of my legs, the left leg. And since then, I've developed a strong desire for peace. A strong desire for peace. In 2007, when we came back, some of you who follow the Sudanese history very carefully, you realize that in 2005, a peace agreement was signed between Sudan Armed Forces, let me say Sudan government and the SPLA, which is the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, the current ruling party in South Sudan. So in 2007, I came back to South Sudan, and when we were in Uganda, but before maybe I talk about coming back to South Sudan, before I went to Uganda in 2000, many of our people were dying of diseases that could easily be prevented. And the one that shocked me so much was the death of my elder sister, who was delivering in 1996. And because there was no hospital in Louis, and then there was no midwife, no doctor, so my sister just died like that. I think if this could be this time around, I'm sure she will not die. So up to now, I feel sorry that my sister died that time. And then also the issue of Guinea, because we had the issue of clean water. Access to clean water was really an issue in South Sudan then. And then we were drinking from river. My uncle was affected by Guinea worm. Those are the things that up to now stand in my mind. I think I say I should work for peace. So when we were in Uganda, and even before we went to Uganda, I had many options. Option number one could be to join the armed groups, because that was much easier. You join an armed group, you carry a gun, you loot civilian, you do whatever they're doing. I chose not to do this. And when we were as refugees in Uganda, because they told us that there were these three permanent solutions to refugee crisis in Uganda. One is to seek resettlement, and preferably in Australia. And then another one was that you integrate locally. And then another one to be repatriated. I think that's why I chose it to be repatriated. I wanted to come back and work with the people back home in South Sudan and contribute to the peace building processes. So when I came back in 2007, towards the end of the year, my father died, of course, later, just 1 year when we met, died of a cancer in 2008. So, but there was this peace agreement. That peace agreement, 2005 to 2011 was good. And we got a referendum in 2011, and that's when we voted to become an independent state, and thanks to the government of the United States of America and all the Western world. That, from July 2011 to December 2013, this is about 1 year or 2 years of being in peace. Well, it was good, it felt really good when there was a free movement of people. The police were able to do their work. The military was very, very friendly. The economic situation improved. People started farming. I think even relief, because as a South Sudanese, we used to depend so much on relief, okay? So during that time, things began, people started working on their own, people started producing food, so women were accessing health services, children were able to go to school, but then just in 2013, the war started again. So now, with this experience of living in the war, having experienced the war, sustained a bullet wound from a war, separated from family for 10 years, struggled alone to attend the education, I took it upon myself. I said, I cannot go for resettlement. I will not go. I will not stay in Uganda. I will come back to South Sudan and do nothing but work for peace. And that's exactly what I've been doing since 2008 when I came back. Thank you.
Niriwa, I know that other people want to ask questions, but what are your first memories when you had independence? And what was it like in those 2 years, year and a half or so, of sheer and utter peace? And Kathy, we can undo share screen so we could go to speaker view. There we go. I was there right at that time. We did a training out in Mambolo. And
yes.
Mambolo, you were training people, the 3 chiefs, and all the people had been making war on each other. A wonderful day. But what do you remember about what peace was like in the community, and what changes did you see almost instantly?
Okay, I think it was good. People started living in peace. People were moving free. People were interacting. People were working very hard. So even the conflicts were being resolved. There were no guns. You know, if you come to South Sudan now, in 2011 there were no guns. But now, if you come now, 2020 in South Sudan, the number of guns in the arms of civilians outnumbers the one which the government has. So in 2013, there was nothing like you go at night, somebody stops you, or a woman is raped, or some other thing like that. So it really felt very good. It really felt very good to experience the peace. And now I think that's what we want to bring back. We want to bring back that peace that we have lost and that we enjoyed for 2 years, yeah.
Okay, Niriwa, let's go to some questions from our committee of record first. Who would like to go first? Raise your hand or just go ahead.
Okay.
I have a question. When you were left South Sudan, I think you said you were in Uganda at a settlement camp, refugee camp. Yeah. So how did you access education? Because it sounds like it would be very difficult.
Okay, in Uganda, the UNHCR opened some schools in the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Opened some schools in the camps, okay? But they are just the low quality schools where children go there and they are taught by volunteers. So those schools are there in almost every camps. And that's how I got my education. Okay. And when I came to secondary school, because I did not have money, there was another school which was also constructed by United Nations High Commission for Refugees in a small town called Koboko in Aro district. I think one colleague here who lived in Uganda probably knows some of these places. That's where I started, from Koboko. It was a UN school, but then there were 2 options. Other students who were lucky got a scholarship from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and they went to better schools. But for us who were unable, we just went to these poor schools, and we struggled on our own from there.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Next question.
Yes, I had a question. I did review your resume, and this was a lot of work. A very extensive resume. Thank you for doing that. One question I had is to learn more about peace and conflict resolution. The question I have is when you get a new project, you learn of some issue going on, and you feel they can help in that project. how do you get started on a project? Maybe you could give an example of a project you've done and how do you get started?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Let me, first of all, give one example of a project that Dr. Ann met me, we were implementing, okay?
Yes.
With nonviolent peace force. That project was written, I think, at the headquarters in Belgium, and it got down to the ground to be implemented, and that's where I got hired to implement the project. That project was looking at resolving the conflict, because we had a long conflict that had existed between farmers and the cattle keepers in Western Equatoria, the state where we were working, and another nearby state called the Lakes. So what we did with that project was this. First, there was a baseline survey. There was a baseline survey carried out, a kind of assessment to understand what were the issues, especially with the conflict, what are the causes of this conflict, who are the actors, what are the dynamics, how it has changed over time, all these things, we did it. And then from there, with that data available, you now do the planning. You do the planning to intervene. For example, from the baseline survey that we did, we realized that the conflict which happened between the farmers and the cattle keepers had existed since 1983 because there was nothing to resolve it. So we said, okay, now if we are to approach this conflict, how would it be approached? One thing was that we were operating from Western Equatoria, which is a farming community, and then the neighboring state is a cattle keeping community. One question that we asked was, how do we maintain ourselves neutral in the conflict? How do we communicate? Who do we communicate to? Who do we involve? Do we start from top, come down, or do we start from down, go up? So those are the bunch of questions that we asked. And then what we did was, with this particular project was, we said it should be a bottom up, because sometimes it works better. You begin a bottom up. So in that situation, we started working with chiefs. You know, chiefs are very powerful in those communities. And we identified 7 chiefs in the farming community, and identified 4 chiefs in the cattle keepers community. So we started working with them, with the women and the youth groups, and to try to understand them and ask them, because as nonviolent peace force, our methodology was not to actually force peace, but to facilitate the stakeholders so that the stakeholders could bring the peace. So what we did was to go to these chiefs and explain who we are, first of all, and what we want to do, and what the impact of the conflict on the women and children and all this one. So going forward, because to maintain that we were not perceived as taking side either with the cattle keepers or with the farmers, we divided 2 groups at the same time going, and that time most of the areas are not covered by telecommunications, so we were carrying these satellite phones. So you go to another village, you explain to the chiefs there, you explain. Of course, when you go to one side, they can say a lot of bad things about the other side, but that's not what you take, because when you take that kills peace, any process is automatic. So you collect what is like a common concern, and then communicate it across. We did that, and everything went well, but then we got resistance from one chief. There was this chief who was not cooperating. For him, we wanted more fighting. He was mobilizing his forces. So what we did was to go and convince him to take him in our car. I remember sitting on his right-hand side, so that if there was any bullet coming from there, I would receive. And my colleague, she's also from America, United States of America, was sitting on the other side. So we drove through the villages from the farmers area to that side of the cattle keepers. On our way, the chief was able to see the destruction that was taking place. Houses burnt, villages disturbed, displaced, women and children could not go to hospital, there was no food. So by the time we reached there, the chief was already in support of the peace. That's how we did it. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Very informative.
All right, who would like to go next?
I can ask one. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little more details, just kind of describe some of your short and long-term goals.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, I have as somebody who loves peace, I have a goal. I have a goal. Now, my immediate goal is I'm looking for this fellowship. If I am selected and given the fellowship and I study, the first thing when I come back to South Sudan, my short-term goal will be to look for some job. Of course, first to establish myself. So I have two organizations in my mind that I would like to go back to. One of them is Nonviolent Peace Force that I have previously worked with, where we met with Dr. Ann. My purpose of going there is to provide leadership to their programming. Nonviolent Peace Force has got a very good approach to civilian protection, peace building. So I still want to go back there to provide leadership. And then if not that, another organization is Oxfam. I think the UK charity Oxfam. Oxfam has a very, very good, Oxfam has also a very good program, both on water and sanitation. It has a program on emergency responses. Oxfam also has a good program on protection, gender-based violence, all these things. So those are the two organizations that if I get this fellowship and I come back, I will work for them. And I want to do that work for about 5 years, 5 years. And then the long-term goal, because we have all seen, we have witnessed how this COVID-19 has impacted globe, all of us, okay? And so from there, after 5 years of working with the aid of these two organizations, what I will do, I want to form a non-profit organization that will work in peace building, incorporate issues of gender-based violence, because, you know, in a situation of war like in South Sudan now, there is just too much violence against women and girls. I think if you have been following, you hear girls at the age of 8 have been raped, girls at the age of 10 have been raped, women have been killed here and there. So my long-term program will be to establish an organization. One of the reasons to do this is that people are now talking about what is they call localization. I think localization is something which has been channeled by donors, mostly donors, USAID, UK, all these ones, SIDA and so on. So what they are saying is that, like for example, the international organizations will not be forever in South Sudan. At one time, of course, with the needs in other parts of the world, you see things that happen in other parts of the world, even in Africa. This international organization will one day go. And therefore, as South Sudanese, we will want to be there to do things for ourselves. So that's the purpose. I hope you understand me. One, to get job, to establish myself, and also save something, to start an organization, non-profit organization, that will work on peace and gender-based violence, and the purpose is to reduce violence against women and children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else has a question? Did you have a follow-up question, Rachel?
Not right now. That was very good. Thank you for answering my question so thoroughly.
Who else has a question?
I'd like to add to what you just talked about. I think you have some good plans. And let me ask, when you come back, how do you see your relationship with Rotary, and how could Rotary help your future plans? Do you have any ideas on that?
Very good. Yes, I think that's one thing that I could have mentioned. Sorry. One of the things is to work with the Rotary Club here in Juba. Last year, when I was thinking of applying this year, our Rotary in Juba now are not sitting because of the COVID and all this one. I attended one of the meetings, the Rotary Club in Juba, and they have good plans. They're also receiving good support. So one of the things I will do is to work with them to improve the work they do. Because when I become a fellow in peace, I think, because when I went there, most of the peace people of the Rotary, they come from different backgrounds, teachers and all this. So I think with the masters in peace and conflict studies, I will be able to help the Rotary and improve their capacity and work with them to identify more local projects and see how we can contribute to the growth of development of this nation.
Thank you.
Have I answered you?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Who has a question?
Yeah, I do. This is Kyle, if I can get that to work.
Yes, Kyle.
Reading your bio was fascinating, and you know, when we, what experiences have you had to help further world understanding and peace, and some example? Can you share some examples that have helped shape things for you? I know one of them was referencing when you were in Rwanda and you went to the Genocide Memorial Museum, and you said that changed the way you looked at peace. Can you maybe expound on that one a little bit, and then share some other examples that have helped you as well?
Okay. Yes, I think in 1994, when I was still a young boy, that time I was not able to understand the international issues very much. So the genocide was going in Rwanda, and I did not know much about it until a pastor came from Nairobi that time, and he started showing us photos of how people were being killed and all this. So when we were studying in Uganda as refugees, we had an opportunity to go to Rwanda to see two things, because the donor, I don't know exactly the donor that was funding the student activity wanted, said to build the future leaders in peace in South Sudan. So they took us to Rwanda, and we saw two things. One, the museum, where you had so many heads of people that were skulls of people that were killed. And in another place, you get the bones of hand and all these ones. So it was really very traumatizing to see that. And also, it's very difficult to believe that human beings can treat each other like that. That actually changed my life. The other thing that also changed my life about was the genocide in Darfur. I have not been to Darfur myself, but I watched quite a lot of films and did a lot of research about genocide in Darfur. And that time, because we were still in one Sudan, okay? We were still in one Sudan, and the Sudan government was killing all the black people in Darfur. And with those videos, with the memories of Rwanda, I said, okay, now when I grow up, what I want to do is to build the peace. The other work experiences that I have done also, I think, apart from the one with Nonviolent Peace Force, I worked with a national NGO called the Mundri Relief and Development Agency from 2008 to 2010. And our project, which was funded by UK government, was supporting implementation of 2005 peace agreement. And from that peace agreement, actually, I read a lot of things. I was able to understand human rights. I was able to understand issues of justice, all these things. Those changed my life. Now in 2000 and let me say 2015, when I started working for Grassroots Relief and Development Agency. This is now after the 2013 war. And I had already moved here in Juba. I was working from Juba, and we were going to states that were badly affected by conflict. States, when you look at the map, okay, sorry, it's not there. States like Unity State, Jungle State, where people were killed in mass, and civilians from one ethnic group called the Nuer were now seeking protection from UN. Up to now, they are still there. They're here, you know, there is in town called Bor, Bentiu, and Juba, wow. So when we worked there, and also in Bor, I saw a lot of atrocities. One of the things that also changed my mind was that in Bor, when these civilians had sought refugees in the UN camp, other people were busy looting their property outside here. That time I was working with the protection cluster as a member of protection cluster, and there was a presentation on this particularly, how IDPs, people who are displaced by conflict, had lost all their property and everything. So I decided to write a small project and set up a team in Bor, one of our towns here. So when we were there, what we were doing was to go to UN camp, organize with the UNIMIS, go and register people whose property had been taken away, houses. We would bring them to town, and they will show us, okay, this is my house, and this is my vehicle, this is my land, and all this. What we would do is try to mediate between what we call in the language of housing and property, they are called secondary occupants. We would discuss with these secondary occupants to ask them if they want to live. If not, we are the legal team. We had hired a legal team in town that these IDPs will now take their cases to court. So many cases. By the time when I left in my former organization, I think 10 people had already received their property back. But I was also, another thing that also stood up for me during my work with the Grassroots Relief and Development Agency was, we got in town of Bor, there was an old woman around, of course, in South Sudan, when you are about 60, that is very old. So she was around 60, I think all the children were killed in a war. And but she had a very good piece of land, very good plot of land next to a hotel. And because that place, you can pay millions of South Sudanese pounds to buy it, some poor people came and decided to take this land away. So with my team, we went and talked to the old lady, and we took the case to the court. We were able to win. So those are some of the things that have changed my mind about working for peace. Incidents in Rwanda, incidents here in Darfur, and the effects of 2013 war. These are things that have actually changed some of my experience. And currently, I work in Juba, and I'm managing team of protection, dealing with child protection, work of gender, protection of women and girls against violence. I work with the teams of that are doing providing psychosocial support to people affected by war. So currently, we are helping women or girls that are raped to get access to health care, to take them to hospital, to support them, to link them to people who can help them provide legal services. Those are the things that the experiences that I've gone through. That's why I said earlier on that when I finish from here, I will go into nonviolent peace force, but that overall I want to open an organization, because it only takes like $500 to register an organization and you can begin. That's why I say I want to work on peace and reducing violence against women, because of the experience I've worked with women and also seeing that girls as age of early as age can be raped, you see. Those are the things that have changed my mind about peace. Thank you. I don't know if I have answered your question.
I think we have time for one more short question. Does anybody have a pressing question?
This is Ashok. I do have a question. Nirwa, you're a hero.
Thank you, thank you.
In 2012, our Rotary District approved a grant that was to give auction equipment to hospital in Juba and train the nursing as well as the respiratory team. But because of our the war restarting, we weren't able to complete that project. I do believe this is an opportunity. Since you're in Juba, we could resurrect that project and just have you be the liaison there. It would be a low-hanging fruit for us to turn that project around into a story that would inspire, literally, over 2,000 children a year and help them. And I would also propose Rachel partner with us to see how we, Rotaract and the Rotary Club of Juba, can demonstrate hope and solve some of the health-related disparities. And finally, there's a priest in Byron that was our priest in St. John's for many years, Father John Lasuba. He, like you, saw his family executed during the war, and it was only because of faith and the support of his strong will that he came here. He got his green card and started a project called Seeds of Wisdom in Yei. And so I think we have an opportunity to have you make a bridge to two communities in Juba and in Yei and help both health and education. And I think with Rachel's blessings and this group's blessings, it could become more than a story, but really impactful. So my question to you is, are you prepared to lead in what's called a VUCA environment, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, with or without COVID?
That's very interesting. Yes. First of all, if you could think about reviving that project, that will seriously be appreciated. You know, I have lived all my life in volatile situations. I don't think there is another new volatile situation in South Sudan that I will fear. So I can work anywhere, move anywhere in South Sudan. So there is no new volatile situation in South Sudan that can make me say run away. You said the priest is called Father Lasuba, and in Bahrain?
No, he's in Yei. He's in Byron, Byron, Minnesota,
Oh,
which is
okay.
next to Rochester.
Okay. Yes. Oh, it is possible.
Okay.
Reviving that project is possible, and I'm here. I have no problem.
Yeah. So I'm sending an email to Anne and copying Ed, Marek, and Kathy. And so with my prior proposals, and you can do whatever you want, but I give you permission to steal shamelessly and weave it for your next steps. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you. I have to go see a patient, so take care.
Thank you, Ashok. Thanks for being on the call. I am just so thrilled with this last conversation, especially because there's no need to wait until a decision is made. We can just do this. And it looks like Nehruwa is ready and willing to help us do that. So we're moving toward closure, but I want to tell you a teaching hospital story, Ashok, if you have 1 minute. When I went there, it was during the time that Nehruwa was on the Nonviolent Peace Force team. I was greeted at the Juba airport, and taken right to the teaching hospital where Nonviolent Peace Force, possibly Niriwa or maybe not, I'm not sure, were protecting a girl who had been raped 3 times and was just totally destroyed inside. And nobody really was taking care of her. So we went out to her village, made sure she got in the hospital. She wasn't eating, so she had to have intravenous. And we brought her family in with her. So this is part of the thing we did that nobody else was doing to take care of this little girl, maybe 15 years old. She was by that time pregnant, and very soon after I saw her, she died. And it was probably merciful because there was no viability of life there at all. But that's the kind of work that Niriwa was doing, was making sure that people were taken care of. And the teaching hospital was also the site of where different family groups had been killing each other with axes and stones, and they all ended up at the teaching hospital. So there are stories and stories from this hospital. And I know Nonviolent Peace Force would be glad to support, still there working in the same area. So Ashok, thank you for that. Let's do it.
Yeah, can I just add, Niriwa, the resilience you show offers hope and inspiration for the whole world, not just one country or one village. So just like we say it takes a village to raise a child, it can take the power of one to change the world. And I think that's what Rotary does so well, is to give us a voice and organize in a coordinated way these opportunities to translate health or education and service as a bridge to peace. And this peace we're talking about is an inner peace of mind, not just the outer tranquility of heaven in Rochester or anywhere else in Minnesota. But thank you so much for this opportunity, and you're bringing tears to my eyes, but also inner commitment and conviction to the importance of maintaining human dignity as we do our work in whatever context. So my brother is an intensivist at Mayo, Arizona, and he trains the special forces and the combat medics in the military boot camp sort of environment. He also works with the White House medics. So if we need to get into the situation of extraction and special ops, we have a way to do that within the Mayo network as well.
Very good. Well, thank you, Ashok.
I have one quick comment, just to show before you leave, if you haven't already left. I sent you another contact in South Sudan in case there might not be available. You never know.
Oh, wonderful. And Patty, I remember you from a few years ago where you did your Water for Life in our Marriott Hotel, and we were sharing some opportunities. So when Shelter Box was also around. So our district is an amazing district.
Yes, does a lot of good work.
Yeah. All right. See you, everybody. Thanks, Ann. Dr. Fish.
Thank you all. We are fast approaching the magic hour when we have to convene as a subcommittee to draft something really quickly. Niriwa, we are so thrilled that you were here.
Thank you.
We will be back in touch with you very soon. As soon as I hear from the committee, we will start drafting our decision. I will let you know at the earliest possible moment. And then we will actually write this up and send you a copy. I will send all the committee of record a copy of their work, and to all of you who have checked into the chat and left your email address. And I'm sure that Kathy has it as well. So again, Niriwa, so glad to have you with us in District 5960. Thank you all. Fred, Amanda, Patty, Rachel, Teddy, I think you're there. Ed, Kyle, Kenny, Rachel, Kathy, again, great thanks to you for everything. So we will see you soon. And thank you all for being here.